product of Rocky Hill School Systems, first one from my town to go to one of the service academies. I ended up going to the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland. I graduated in, remember, get your calculators out there, I graduated in '75 with a Bachelor of Science in Aerospace Engineering. So that right there tells you where my mindset is, numbers, and everything has a sequence and order to it. I received a commission as an ensign. I subsequently served 28 years in the United States Navy. I retired in 2003, and I was probably one of the oldest people recalled at 9/11 to go serve over, and actually I was assigned to Fifth Fleet over the Persian Gulf in a little place called Bahrain. And there, my job is, especially in the military, was a strategic plan, i.e. war plan. So it's a little background about myself, and it gives you a feel for where I'm coming from. I come from a position that understands leadership, accountability, and responsibility. Now, what I see, what my campaign is about, and I think it's all encompassing, is that the state is broken. Matter of fact, the state is also literally playing to be broken. And proof of that is if there's a, what the Act poll on the 28th of August, I believe it was, it says that 57% of the people in Connecticut are dissatisfied, very dissatisfied with the state of Connecticut or the way it's going. And I agree with that, because what this campaign is about, what the election is really about, is about the future of Connecticut. We have incumbents that have been in the state legislature for years and years and years that have gotten us into this situation, and now they're turning around telling us that they can get us out of the situation, which I kind of scratch my head, I don't understand this. It's kind of like the definition of insanity. Everybody's probably, I'm sorry?
30 seconds.
Oh, okay, definition of insanity, what everybody's already heard about is you knock your head on the wall, and time after time after time, you expect different results. And the only way we're gonna get that is by having a change of leadership at the state. And that's why I want to be your state senator. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jennifer and Steve, for continuing the tradition of Arlene Rich. She was a friend of mine, and I'm glad we continue this tradition. It's my pleasure to come to this small town. This is probably the best turnout since I've been here. This is my privilege of coming for the fourth time. I also want to sincerely, in this difficult political time, I want to thank my opponent for his service to our country, specifically his calling back to after 9/11. I do appreciate his service to our country. One other broad issue for everyone, the redistricting of this year has changed things. So I had the privilege of serving Westfield for the past 6 years. The lines have changed, so if I'm fortunate to get reelected, I will only serve maybe half of it. So maybe pay attention, because some of you may think you'll be voting for the 9th district and you're not. So double check that when you get home on the web or something. It's a little confusing. I've been your state senator for 6 years. It's been my privilege. Prior to that, I served in the State House of Representatives for 12 years. Prior to that, I served in the town council in the town of Wethersfield, where I grew up. I have dedicated my life to the service of the citizens of the Greater Hartford region. It's really a privilege for me, and I pride myself in being a hard worker, committed to the constituents, and responding to questions you may have. I hope maybe I've answered some of your questions in here, different problems along the way. We certainly are still continuing in the midst of a great recession. The past recession was much quicker. This is the biggest and the most significant economic downturn since the Great Depression. The last 2 years have not been pleasant. The next two, it does not appear that they're going to be anything radically great or quick turnaround. But I do think we have to continue some of the efforts we achieved. Over the past 2 years, I'm proud to say I worked on the bipartisan jobs bill where we actually got together. Unfortunately, Washington is not really like that, unfortunately. We worked together in Connecticut on a bipartisan jobs bill. I look forward to expand and improve that. I also look forward to addressing once again the ongoing budget issues. We're certainly in a difficult state of the budget, but 2 years ago we were at about $3.5 billion. Now we're about $500 million. So we're nowhere near the significant place we were 2 years ago, and that's probably due to the fact that some of our estimators anticipated the turnaround more quickly. But I would just like to say at this point in time, although I did support the current budget, it's at this point we have to look to make further cuts. So again, I want to thank you for the privilege of serving you for the last 6 years, and I'll stop early and give time for questions. Thank you.
Do we have a question?
for either candidate. There's been several laws and programs passed in the state legislature recently. One of them was the early release of convicted felons for getting credit for behavior modification courses. Over the past several weeks, there have been a number, at least 5 incidents, where violent criminal offenders have been released based on these courses. For Senator Doyle, the question is, has that caused you to rethink the position, and would you stop that program, at least temporarily, in order to reevaluate it and make sure that violent felons are not released? And for Senator candidate Dinunzio, what is your position on that program?
Yeah, that program was designed to exclude the violent crimes, and it certainly did exclude many of them. Apparently, there may be an issue of a few of them that got through and was not the intention of the legislation. I will point out, there's been a lot of discussion out there saying that the Meriden and the East Hartford killings were an exact result of the new legislation. And I have a letter from the Department of Corrections who's stating that, in fact, the defendant and the individual, the alleged the defendant in Meriden, actually completed 85% of his term, or his sentence. That means that the credits did not get into play in that one, because for the past 20 years, we've got a mandatory minimum of 85%. So despite what you hear, it's my understanding that, in fact, that is not the case. That person may have gotten credits, but he did not get out early under that program. But again, that being said, I'm prepared to review the entire piece of legislation. When we pass legislation, oftentimes we have to review and refine it. I definitely will consider and support and make a deep analysis of the entire legislation. However, I think there's been a lot of hyperbole out there in the sense of what actually it is. It's good in politics to abuse it, or accuse it of legislation, but it's my understanding that not all the incidents are people that were convicted and utilizing good time credits to get out.
Yeah, my response to that is not in favor of it. I would, I guess, use the term abolish it, get rid of it, delete it, wipe it off the books. It's interesting that some of the comments made is that it seems like the devil's in the details, and they didn't really understand what they passed, they being the current legislature. It kind of reminds me of the healthcare bill. It says, so you got to pass it to see what's in it. And for something that critical, I think it's a wrong approach. They should have thought it out. Again, that's my engineering mindset saying, sit down and take a look at it, think it out, and come up with a valid approach. So to answer your question, not in favor, get rid of it.
Any Westfield residents with questions?
I guess a follow-up to the last one. Given that our prison system is operating at over 100% capacity, eliminating any kind of program for early release is necessarily going to entail building more prisons in Connecticut. Middletown has a unfortunate history of having institutions cited here because we have a great deal of state-owned property. What steps would you take if you eliminated those programs to ensure that we wouldn't have new prisons put into Middletown?
I guess you're saying that's a bad idea then, if there's a new prison in Middletown? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I don't think it would be a popular initiative here.
Well, I
Considering
guess
we had
you say-
400 people in the council chamber screaming about citing Long Lane in Middletown only a few years ago.
Yeah, I guess everybody has this not my backyard syndrome, but I think everybody, if you want to have this collective effort, has to sit down and think what's good for the whole state. I'm sure if you have the right programs in there, I don't think it would be like Long Lane. I'm not too familiar with all the history of Long Lane and all that, but I don't think building new prisons where you support the population is that far off an idea where we have that many problems on it. And maybe a different approach to take a look at is I guess it would help stimulate the economy a little bit here because you have new construction going on. So at least that way there you get some revenue coming back into the economy. So
I just think, with my goal of scrutinizing legislation, just to clarify and ensure that no violent offenders get out under it, I think that is going to solve it. Because there is a benefit to have non-violent defendants and criminals that are serving time on drug-related crimes and the like. If we can get more treatment for them, that will stop the recidivism rate. So I think, I certainly want to, I'm not saying I don't want to address the legislation, but I'm not out to all and out prohibit it, because for nonviolent offenders, getting drug treatment can remedy the problem, get our recidivist rate down. Thank you.
We're at 5 minutes of questions.
Question? Sir?
Yes, actually, this is for Mr. Suzio, if that's all right. I came in late, I don't know if this is the right
They'll
time.
both come.
They'll both answer, thank you. Mr. Suzio, you recently...
Yes, they'll turn, they're not up yet, Another question? Sir?
Yep. I'm reading in the last few days about the quarterly reporting on the income, going back to Senator Doyle's comment about how good our posturing. I listened to Denise Napier talking about the extended bonding that we're doing to pay for just salaries and programs. Personally, I think it's a wrong management of our money, and a reality that is not good. What is your position on this issue where they were going to report in October, the middle of this month, and they're fighting to do it after the election? Tells me, the average person, that someone's afraid to say something here, or what would be the reason, if either of you have any position or feeling about that? I think it's wrong.
Well, I first want to clarify my position. I did not say that the state of Connecticut is in a great financial situation. I said there's a $500 million deficit. If we had a surplus, I'd be much more comfortable. But please don't characterize
Okay,
my
no problem.
statement. I didn't say we're great. I said in comparison to $3.5 billion, we're better off. But we still are in tough shape. It's going to take some significant cuts. And in terms of the delaying of that, I'll be honest, I'm not too familiar with that. If I have to look into that, why it's delayed. I had nothing to do with it. My role is more judiciary. But if it's as you presented, that it was politically motivated, it's wrong. However, I'm not too familiar with that issue.
It was in the current, just.
I know that, but I.
Yeah, okay, the last few days.
Okay, another question? You go.
You guys,